Mary Holm, personal finance expert, is in. She's a financial author and a journalist. She's got a great book on the topic, which would be a pretty good Christmas present, Mary.
Oh, thanks, Jesse.
Was it around this time last year that it came out?
Yes, but it's kept on being in the, good selling lists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So called Rich Enough.
Yep.
Yes.
A perfect gift. So what are we talking about this year?
Well,
This week, rather.
This time last year, I got an email from a woman called Claire, and I looked at it and I thought, don't know. But this year I got braver. So do you want to read it out?
Yeah, sure. Let's see if I can find it here.
I can read it if you like.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. What
don't think I've got it in front of me.
Claire said is, Mary, Christmas is a time for reflection. What financial decisions have you regretted? And what would you have done differently with the benefit of hindsight? And I thought, that's interesting. It's kind of like checking out the dentist's teeth and all of that. And the barber's haircut.
Yeah.
And,
Never trust a skinny chef sort of thing.
No, that's right. Exactly. So it got me thinking about, okay, what had I done right and done wrong with money in my own life?
Yeah.
I'm going to cheat with the first thing I say because Claire said, what would you have done differently with the benefit of hindsight? And anyone with the benefit of hindsight would get into the share market right before it zooms up and get out of it right before it
sell in September 1987.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, quite. And the same with the property market, of course. Get in right before the booms and get out before the prices go down again, which, don't forget they do sometimes go down. But I think that's cheating because we could all look back like that.
Yeah.
But when one thing that I considered doing when I was younger, and I've often thought about doing it, but I've never quite had the courage to do it, is to borrow to invest in shares long term.
I've heard you talk about that before.
Yeah, it's what actually tripped up a lot of people in the 87 crash. They had borrowed to invest in shares, and then when the share market crashed and their shares were worth nothing and they still had the debt, that's the terrible thing that happens.
Yeah.
But over the long term, if you're in a share fund, a widely diversified share fund, it does go up, and they always have, and I reckon they always will in the long term. And therefore, I've invested in shares through index funds since the 1970s, since they were actually first started in America. I was living there then and heard about them and thought, this sounds good, and it was good. But I didn't ever quite have the guts to also borrow money and invest that in a share fund. And
You'd need guts just to sit down with the bank manager and tell them that's what you were planning.
Yes, unless you can borrow from a rich relative or something like that.
Maybe.
But no, you're quite right. I mean, bank managers would probably frown on it. But, when I look back now, I would have had a heck of a lot more money to do whatever I want with.
Because you would have been able to leverage.
Yeah, yes. Leveraging or gearing.
Gearing.
Leveraging's just the American term for gearing. It's the same sort of thing. So that's something that, perhaps I should have done when I was younger. Now it's getting a bit too close to the time I'm likely to spend the money to do that with it, because you'd want to have sort of 20 or 30 years in front of you to do something as gutsy or crazy as that would be. Yeah. A couple of other mistakes I've made. When my husband and I were living in America, he was an academic, and one of his colleagues, who was actually an Australian bloke, but he was an expert in foreign exchange and foreign exchange trading, etc. And he always said, no, you can't really, it's not really worth gambling on it. And then one day he said, look, I think I've discovered a trick about how to get around foreign exchange stuff, and I'm inviting my friends to put $10,000 into this fund that we're going to build up to exploit this way I've found to beat the market, the foreign exchange market. And he did, in his defence, say to all of us, look, it's got to be money that if you lose it, you'll be okay about it.
Right.
This is a gamble. And so we decided we'd go in, and our $10,000 turned into $3,000 some years later. So that, taught me that he wasn't a con man. He genuinely thought, this chap John genuinely thought it was good.
Did he have a system?
Yeah, and he was an academic, and he had studied all of this, in great depth. But that sort of taught me that you got to be really wary, even if your friends are pretty sure.
Were you cross
of what
with
they're
them?
doing. Oh, no, we had another beer and laughed about it because he had said to us, look, from the word go, this might happen. But
It's like I remember my dad came up with a system for winning at roulette.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Yes, and
no, it didn't work.
sometimes they work for a while, don't they?
It was pretty good. I wonder if he'd mind me sharing it with everyone.
Oh, go on.
I don't think he'll mind seeing it didn't work. But the idea was that you go on with 3 units, whether it's 3 times $50 or 3 times $10 or whatever, and you put a bet with one of your units on red or black. And the theory is that you will more often hit 5 before you'll hit 0. So when you hit 5, if you walk away,
yes,
then you'll do all right.
Yeah, but in fact, that wasn't what the odds were. Were they actually equal?
I can't remember where it fell down, but he ran a little Excel program on it and ended up losing money. So he knew that there was something wrong with it, but he got pretty close.
Yes. You've got to kind of think in something like that someone else would have got in there first. But maybe your dad is a genius, and so look at his son.
If anyone's got a great system for investing in foreign exchange, send it to Mary and I, and we'll appraise it for you.
We'll have a quick look at it.
Yeah. I'm just going to jump in, by the way, Mary, I've just got a news flash through. The police are saying now that bodies on Whakaari White Island will be recovered tomorrow morning. That's big news, particularly after speculation over the last few days. So that news is just through. Bodies on Whakaari White Island will be recovered tomorrow morning, say police. We'll get you more on that as soon as we have it.
Gosh, you've got to assume that that's conditional on nothing bad happening overnight. I mean...
Yeah, that's all we've got. We'll have more on the website when we get it, and in the 4 p.m. bulletin, obviously.
Anyway, yes, that certainly sobers things up a bit here. And,
it's been that sort of week, actually.
Yeah, it sure
Do you know
has.
what I mean? It's been an incredible story.
Yeah.
And
it's,
you try and do a bit of your normal life and a bit of the normal show and make sure that you're giving people as much information as you can when you get it. But, it's been really that sort of week.
Terribly sobering. And... Yes.
Okay, we are also hearing that there's going to be a press conference at 3:30, so we'll get that up live for you if we can as well. That's in about 6 minutes' time. Mary, house buying.
House buying.
What have you learned?
Yes. Bought 8 different houses over my life. Most of the time sold and then bought again because I was moving. 5 times it was because I was moving cities or countries, but. One time we did the sin of buying before we sold, and a lot of times that does happen because you're hanging out for a particular type of house and you grab it. But the trouble is that you can't always count on getting what you hoped you'd get for the one you're selling. The house markets can be rocky, and that was when we lost 30% on a house, which I've told you about before, in St Heliers, in blue chip Auckland suburb. Bought it for $380, I think, and sold it for $260, something like that. And that was partly because we'd already bought and we didn't want to be financing both houses for too long, and so we got desperate. So that's something that I've learnt to try very hard not to ever do again. Moving on, because we haven't got a lot of time here, have we? I have vaguely considered rental property at times, and people have done very well out of it. But I've watched from the sidelines too often tenants being treated badly by landlords being treated badly by tenants, and decided I just don't want to be in the middle of that. We once had a rental property because we moved from Michigan to Chicago and couldn't sell the Michigan property. And so we rented it out for a while first, and it ended up being a nightmare, especially being in a different city, with the land agent telling us that the tenants were leaving the house in a big mess so no one would buy it, and the tenants telling us that the land agent was treating them very badly, and you're stuck in the middle hundreds of miles away.
And you've got to be a certain sort of person to feel that is worth it.
Yes, Well, that was just, we were forced to do that. But, I'm not a rental property person, I decided in the end was,
That's a good message too, and you'll often say that because those of us who don't have rental properties often feel a bit envious, might be too strong a word, but maybe like we've sort of missed the boat.
You do
missed this great opportunity to make money, and everyone else is doing it.
Yep, especially in the recent boom where some people have done extremely well.
Yeah.
But then
it's a good reminder that a landlord's life is not a very pleasant life always.
No, not for me. Which leads me into my next one, which is whether I should have gone in for higher paid work than journalism. And the answer to that is no, because, I mean, in the end, you only need so much money. I've, basically got enough, as my book title says, rich enough, or okay, not rich, but well enough off. And I love journalism and have been tempted at times to go and do law or to go and do public relations, and probably would have made more money, but that's okay with me, yeah.
Might be too honest to work in public relations, Mary.
I don't know. Yeah, it depends. I always thought I'd quite like to do PR for a university, where there's a lot of good stories that don't get
That was
out.
unkind of me, actually.
It was,
I used to be a PR myself. That's why I do feel like
there
I can
you
be.
Go.
Yeah.
Can I just very quickly, before we go...
Don't worry too much about the clock. We are waiting on this 3:30 media conference, but often they're a few minutes late. So
Are they?
I won't feel bad about cutting you off.
Okay.
If you just plough on as
What
normal.
I wanted to say, because this is my last session for the year, is something that's got nothing to do with finance, but I'm calling it Be Terrific in Traffic. And there are two things I'd love to see people do. One is let other people in. Two is pull over if cars are behind you. Because, I mean, I see that a lot. Where I live, there's a windy road and people don't pull over, and it makes people so impatient that they take huge risks to pass them. And so it's actually very ultimately dangerous thing.
Do you think those people, the slow people who have queues of traffic behind them, are the sort of people who are self-aware enough to be listening to the radio and thinking, oh, that's me, I will start changing my behaviour?
Gosh, I hope so. And I mean, goodness knows what's going on in their minds sometimes, but it's really... it really is aggravating for everybody else, and it's not very cool. But the other point is, if everyone could thank people when they do them favours, give you a wave, a beep of the horn, flash your lights, something like that. I mean, over Christmas, a lot of people, we're not in as much hurry often as, well, maybe before Christmas, but in the holidays we're not. And so let people in, and then give them a little thanks when they let you in. And we could all just be so much nicer to one another on the road, and it'd be contagious, I reckon.
This is a controversial analysis, but I'm not from Auckland. I'm a Hamiltonian, spent a bit of time in Wellington, so I'm not an apologist for Auckland, but I think Aucklanders are better at letting people in than they are in smaller cities.
Do you? Yeah, no,
I think the only way that you can survive in Auckland traffic is to recognise that if someone's in the wrong lane and they're trying to get in, that you should let them do it. I don't know, people might disagree with me, but I get quite a few thank yous and waves in Auckland traffic.
That's the nice thing. If you are nice, people reward you. I was going down Dominion Road at rush hour with a friend a while back, and I wasn't in a hurry, and I said, let's just see how many people we can let in. And we let in about 8 at just about every different intersection. And mostly we got nice little waves, and we felt so happy. It made us feel like good people.
No, I like you sometimes going on a tangent, Mary. So let people in, pull over if cars are behind you, and remember to thank people by giving them a wave or a beep or by flashing your light.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your contributions to the show this year.
Oh, it's been neat, Jesse.
Yeah.
And everybody go out there and have some fun and be nice to the other drivers.
Mary Holm is our personal finance expert. She's been a big part of the show over the last few years, and she's in every second Thursday.